Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to do a bit of a talk about and kind of owner's review on my new turbo, which is the Intense 5656 RS. So I've had this for, I don't know, a few months now. So I want to kind of compare it to basically the two turbos I've run previously, which is the stock Evo X Turbo and the GTP712. So yeah, with that said, let's get right into the video and let's just talk about exactly why I made the upgrade, the power that I made with all of these turbos, and I'll also throw in some clips of this new turbo because I feel like I've tested it out thoroughly now. So basically, yeah, I got this, I had it tuned on the dyno by Alan at AK Racing, so I'll chuck in a clip of that now, I guess. Also launched the car and reduced my 0 to 100 time compared to my previous turbo. I've taken it up the mountains. And I've also got my wife to do a couple of flybys because I really wanted to hear what this car sounded like from the outside, because I'll tell you right now, the sounds this thing makes are just next level. It is so addictive. You just can't get enough of driving it. So yeah, I feel like I've had enough experience with it. I've daily driven it, I've driven it hard, I've cruised around in it. I feel like I've got the kind of owner's perspective of this now after a few months. So I thought, yeah, this video will just go over the power I made with my previous turbos, power I'm making with this one, my thoughts, prices, all that sort of stuff. I also reached out to Alan at AK Racing, who helped me out with this by sending me a little bit of technical info about these turbos from someone who tunes them, sells them, recommends mods to suit them, stuff like that. So yeah, thought let's just sit down, go over them. Actually still have my two previous turbos here, which helps. So yeah, let's just start off with the stock Evo X Turbo. So I bought this car, surprisingly. I know it doesn't look like it anymore, but this was stock, completely bone stock, no exhaust, no intake, no tune, nothing. And being that it was my first turboed car ever, I kind of found the sound a little bit disappointing. I'd had many friends growing up with turboed cars while I was into my V8s, and you know, used to drive them sometimes. I had mates with Skylines, Sylvias, yeah, all sorts of stuff, WRXs, and they always sounded really good, but they were obviously modified, but they always had this really nice turbo sound, and yeah, I always enjoyed them. And then when I got this with this turbo, I was a little bit disappointed. I obviously test drove it and knew what I was buying. I knew there was potential, but yeah, I drove the car stock for a while and I was always itching for the sort of turbo sound, I guess. I know it's a little bit lame or ricey, I guess, but I'm driving a turboed car. The vacuum sound from the exhaust didn't sound great. The non-existent sound of the turbo on the intake obviously didn't sound great because there was no sound. So I really was looking to upgrade it. So I ended up getting myself an intake, an exhaust, and then from there we went on to full bolt-ons, E85, upgraded the fuel system and all that, and made around 250 kilowatts at the wheels, which is 335, I think it is. Yeah, 335 wheel horsepower. So if that sounds low to you guys, the 335 for a maxed out, basically everything done other than cams, Evo X Turbo, then you're probably not in Australia, but just we have different reading dynos here, it seems. If you're in the UK, I think it's brake horsepower, so that's going to be totally different. If you're in the US, it's wheel horsepower, but the dynos seem to read very differently between the two countries, but yet the drag time slips seem to match up. So it's not that we make low horsepower, it's more that it's just different reading dynos. So yeah, that's where I got to with this one. Unfortunately, it didn't so much break. I didn't actually find out there was anything wrong with it until I removed it, because I got an opportunity to buy one of these for $1,000. I picked up this 712. It was probably that cheap because it was on its way out, I guess, which I soon found out. Not soon, but it lasted me a good year. But what you can do is, if you have this turbo and you want to make a bit more power, you've done your basic bolt-ons, you can actually remove it, send it off to Sydney to a company called GT Pumps. I know that's upside down, but and they will rebuild it and upgrade it and turn it into one of their 712 turbos. Or you can just buy this for around 2,300 Australian. So yeah, 1,500 to get it rebuilt or 2,300 to buy new. So if you've got a good turbo, send it off to them. You can buy, I guess, a damaged or wrecked one with some problems like this and still send it off. It just will cost more than the 1,500. So that's pretty much what I did. So I got this turbo. It made around, what was it, 291 kilowatts at the end on 26 pounds of boost. And it was, yeah, 1,000cc injectors. It was basically making as much as it was going to make with that setup. So that is 390 wheel horsepower. And the other same thing for this turbo, they both take the same intake inlet. So 2.5 inch, I believe it is. Yeah, 2.5 for both of these. Whereas my new turbo came with a 3 inch, but all three turbos that I'm talking about here are stock frame, direct bolt-on replacements. You don't have to change anything else. They are just slot straight in like the factory one does. So yeah, we ended up with this 712. I got my gearbox rebuilt while I had this, and I was all ready to go to the drag strip and see what it could do. Unfortunately, the turbo then went. But I did get a chance to do a 0 to 100 or a couple of 0 to 100 tests, which is 62 miles an hour, so 0 to 60, whatever you guys want to call it. And I did a 3.57 second 0 to 100. So I was pretty happy with that. It's a pretty quick car on the street and launches off really well. But then, yeah, unfortunately this thing, I don't know if you can hear that, but she started rubbing and scoring and making a metal on metal sound. So it was time to upgrade again. But before we talk about the next turbo, let's just show the differences between these. So yeah, the stock turbo, TD05, as is this, but this stock one, it is capable of about, like I said, the 250 kilowatts, probably a little bit more on a manual obviously, but that's what I got it to, roughly around that figure. A little bit more with cams, but you're pretty much maxed out. Your main issue is you're going to make all this power, you're going to come on really soon, the boost, get to about 5,800 and then starts to go back down. It just can't make enough boost at the top end of the RPM. Whereas this one, it comes up a little bit later for boost, but it's just going to hold it flat all the way. So you're going to make more power at the top end, which is the main advantage, I guess. But a little bit extra lag, about 500 RPM difference between these two. With an SST car, which is what I have, it's not too much different. It's not that noticeable, but that extra power up top, having to shift with this one at about 5,800 RPM before you start losing boost, whereas this one holding it all the way to redline, and it still, you know, it keeps pulling harder and harder. It's a definite advantage. It makes up for that 500 RPM lag, that's for sure. So yeah, as you can see, there's slight differences between these. So you can see this is like a 12 blade, but it's 6 and 6. Whereas this one, totally different design. Yeah, so aluminium compressor wheel. It's got a titanium turbine. Whereas you come to the 712 at just that slight bit of extra money for that little bit extra lag, but that more power I was talking about. Yeah, it's going to have a billet 11 blade compressor wheel, larger turbine wheel, and yeah, it's a really good upgrade while it's still remaining a fun daily driver, which is why I wanted to go for this or something like it. The only other problem I had, other than it kind of breaking on me, was that it doesn't really make much sound. I was a little bit disappointing again. It was definitely noticeable. I remember driving home from having this removed and this installed, and it sounded great. I could hear a difference, but as soon as comparing it to other people's turbos, such as my wife's, which she's got a Blausch Dominator 2.0 on her Evo 10, it just makes that little low down whistles. It sounds a bit better when it comes on boost. It's noticeable. Whenever I drive her car, I always used to wish that mine sounded like it or even better. So that was a big advantage for going to the 5656 RS. And yeah, so that's what we've got now. So come over to the car. And yeah, quick fun fact, which I never knew, the name 5656 is actually referring to the turbine and compressor wheel sizes. So I guess like you have, I can't think of what company it is in America, but you got like, you know, 64, 66 turbos and 62, 66s and all that. So this is like a little baby version of that, I guess. It's the 5656. So Intense also make a 53.53 and a 59.60. So if you got the 53, you're going to come on boost a little bit earlier. So this one comes on about, I think it's about 200 to 300 RPM later, full boost, compared to my GT pumps turbo that I had, which is a total about about 700 RPM later than the stock turbo. But again, this one is a lot more capable at the top end. This one is capable of a lot more power than what the 712 turbo was. The 712 basically was pretty much maxed out where I had it. I could have added cams, a little bit more fuel, made a little bit more power with a bit more boost and everything, but really there's not too much more you can make with those. This one, people are seeing well over 400 kilowatts, which is well over 500 wheel horsepower, Australian numbers, with some extra boost, some cams, built engine, possible strokers, stuff like that. I'm not looking to go that crazy, but I am looking to add cams, and when the time's needed, to slightly build the engine, like the head and stuff, and up the boost and make 330, 350 kilowatts, which is like 450 plus wheel horsepower. That's kind of where this turbo shines. It's not much extra lag, but it makes, if I didn't already mention, but I did show the clips at the start, the sounds that it makes are just next level. It is a little bit more expensive though, which is the downside. So like I said, the 712 turbo, $1,500 to get yours upgraded, or $2,300-ish to just buy. This one is around $3,600. So it's over $1,000 more expensive straight away. But I guess it's a little bit confusing, because it's so similar to the 712 in the power that it makes. It's just the capabilities that it has when you keep pushing it. This thing will handle a lot more power and boost, like I said, so it's more capable, but the fact that it's so similar when you go bolt on from one to the other, and the boost level is so similar. But I can tell you right now, as someone who's been driving it, it is a huge difference. I know the numbers on paper look the same, but the torque and the power at this higher end, it just keeps pulling so much harder. It is definitely noticeable going from one to the other. So actually, the only way I can test them so far, other than my word of mouth and what I'm thinking, butt dyno, I guess, the numbers are similar. But the problem with the numbers is I got road tuned on the previous two turbos. This one I got dyno tuned at 294 kilowatts on AK's new dyno, which is 394 wheel horsepower. But I did get previously tuned, road tuned by Alan before the dyno was put in, and it was like 310 kilowatts at the wheels and 301 once you turn down the boost a little bit. So it clearly was making far more power, close to 20 kilowatts more, which is, let's say, 25 to 30 wheel horsepower. But that's just as is. If I was to then chuck some cams in, you can chuck the boost, turn the boost back up a little bit more. If I can build the head, you can turn the boost up more. It's just going to keep making more and more power, and it's capable to rev out and hold that to well past 8,000 RPM. So it's a definite improvement, and worth buying if you want to make more power in the future. It's kind of like future-proofing your car. So that's kind of why I went with it. I mean, I'll be honest, a lot of it was just the sound, and I just had the opportunity. My turbo broke. I had a friend with this turbo. He let me drive his car. I was obsessed with it. I just wanted it. So yeah, the main differences are, like I said, this one has a 3-inch intake inlet compared to the stock 2.5. This Intense also has, it has an anti-compressor surge cover. That's why I guess it has the bigger intake. It also has angular contact ceramic ball bearings, as opposed to the brush type journal bearings used in the 712. So it has faster spool. That's why it kind of seems similar, yet it can make more top end. So it's really well designed and built. So this is all stuff that AK Racing is sort of telling me, that I'm just sort of rattling off. Stuff that I didn't really know, but I just looked at the numbers. There's a Facebook group here called I think it's Intense Owners Dyno Results group, and I joined that even though I didn't have the turbo at the time. I used to always read about the power people were making, and as they were building their cars, and the turbo just continued to be perfect for their package. So that's what I thought mine's going to be. This is always going to be a daily driver. I shouldn't say always, but that's the plan for this car. I just love how good it is as a daily. So yeah, I keep this car something comfortable. It's not too low, it's not too loud, it's not anything crazy. It flies under the radar. So it's a black, subtle looking Evo 10, but it makes great power. It drives really well. So that's kind of, yeah, that's why I went with it. That's where I'm at. So I said the power figure. I haven't had the chance to take this to the drag strip yet. I am planning on doing that. My plan, I wanted to do that with the old turbo too. All I got to do, like I said, was take it out and do a 0 to 100 launch a couple of times, and the best I got was 3.57. When I went to this turbo, all I've done so far to compare is obviously the same thing, 0 to 100. It did a 3.29, so 3.57 down to 3.29, even though the lag is a little bit different, like, you know, an extra couple hundred RPM difference of lag. So that just shows the potential that this thing's going to have once it's actually out on the quarter mile, where I can rev it right out and, you know, keep going past second and third gear. So I'm hoping to get this, and, you know, I'm going to leave it, like, not stripping the car out or anything like that. It's around 1,520 kilos when I weighed this car. So I want to take it there like that. I'm going to see if I can do an 11.6 second quarter mile. If I can do better than that, sorry, it's 11.7 is what I want to do, an 11.7 with that turbo. Maybe I'll try and go for an 11.6 with this, but either way, I want to beat my wife's Evo 10's time, which was done by a previous owner, 11.81. So 11.7 is my real goal. Maybe if I rip out some of the interior, I can get down to the 11.6s, and who knows, maybe even further. Once I keep build the engine a little bit more to handle more boost, I can go back and get into 11.5s and 4s, who knows. I know it's never going to be past an 11 second car. It's not going to get into the 10s while I own it with, you know, the setup I'm going to run, but yeah, I feel like it possibly could be capable with the full power thrown at it. So yeah, that's pretty much, I think, everything I wanted to go over. Probably a long, boring video for you guys, I don't know. I just thought it's something helpful, because I know a lot of people in Australia are looking at these turbo options. There is all the options we can get from the US, but it's usually people are just wanting to buy the stuff you can just get off the shelves here in Australia. So turbo in Australia you can go pick up, and also another Australian turbo that you can go pick up. These are kind of what people are looking at. They're available at most workshops here. There's a lot of data out there. They're proven to work really well. So yeah, I figured some people might be interested in looking at this and they're thinking, is it worth the extra money? Hopefully this video helps. I do not have any regrets. Like I said, it is the best thing I've done to my car in a long time. The sounds just, first of all, make your car enjoyable to drive, but the fact that it's so capable, and I've future-proofed it, it's ready to just keep going with what I throw at it. It's not like something I'm going to regret in the future, whereas if I had to have spent the money to send this off and get it rebuilt again, I feel like I may have regretted that one day when I go to look to build the engine up. I'd then look to getting another turbo anyway. So yeah, I'm going to end the video there. Probably way too long and boring. Sorry if that's the case, but for you know, it might be helpful. So if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what turbo setup, power, and quarter mile times, or 0 to 100 times you've made with your car. Definitely interested to hear all about that, whether it's Evo or Rally Art. And yeah, subscribe if you're not already. But with all that said, that's going to be it for today. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys next time.